agenda? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
Any changes, additions? Hearing none, let's adopt the agenda by acclamation. Oryx did send out the minutes from the last meeting on June 17th. If you had a chance to look those over, are there any changes?
I didn't see anything to change, so I would just make a motion to accept by acclamation.
Is this the late one or the last one, update one?
Yeah, last month's board meeting, which, as I said, Oryx did send that out. I think it was just this afternoon. So,
Okay.
okay, anything else? Hearing nothing, let's accept the minute plan also. Okay, we do have some capital requests here from roads tonight. And Joe, you want to start on the first one?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. What we have here is two projects broken out, Windward and the Culverts. These are projects that have been deemed needed to be done, so we sent it out to bid. There were 6 companies that they sent bids to. The 6 companies were Strider Construction, WRS, Ram Construction, Stremler Gravel, Dirtworks, Tiger, and only 2 of them chose to respond. Both of which have done work here in Sun Valley over the years. And so the first one is for Windward Drive. What I did is we bid it out as a package, the whole big package. They could pick and choose what they wanted. So what I did is, when in your package here tonight, is I broke them down separately. So the first one you're looking at is for the Windward Drive drainage stormwater mitigation, which basically starts where Marina Drive comes out onto Windward and down to where the old rotunda came out. There's quite a bit of drainage issues in there where it runs across the road, goes into other people's houses. So that is what the first one is for. And that is, the total request is $48,569.58, all inclusive, which includes contingencies, taxes, and all the permitting, as well as design, PMW services, and the construction management part of that.
We have some discussion on this one.
I'm just trying to find out where those numbers, where do you find those numbers on?
Okay, Tony, what you need to do, just so you know, and I knew that question was going to come up. If you look at the Windward Drive, the entire project, as they bid it out as the retaining wall and the stormwater improvements. Okay, so the whole contract, the whole thing is for $205,720. What it is, I broke it out so that you could see each individual package, each individual thing. They bid it as a whole package, but for the finance committee tonight, I wanted to break it out separately, just so you guys could see it. So if you look, you will flip to page 5, okay? And you will see how it's broken out. So it's all broken out that, if you look at page 4, you'll see that you have a breakdown of everything for the project, and the bottom says 205,720. So if you go back up and you look for, you have your impact design of $7 grand, PNW services of 51,072. You have construction for stormwater improvements, 32,145. And then you got the construction for the wall. Then you got geotech, which is the compaction testing and construction management. Comes to 187,01836 and contingency of 18,701. So I broke it down. So it's 32 plus the tax, okay, comes to tax, and then I took half of the impact design, half of P&W services, geotech, and the other construction management, added that half in, and then the 10% contingency is 44,115. I broke it out this way just to try to make it a little bit more, I guess, transparent for everybody. I could have put it in as a 205, but I tried to break it out for you. I was just trying to make it easier.
What's the difference between the P&W and the Strider bid?
Well, from WRS, if you go back to page 9, you will see they have all the material breakdown for all projects that they bid on. You will see Windward Schedule A is stormwater improvements. Strider came in 29 and WRS came in at 58. That's before all the other contingencies and tax. Then if you keep looking at that, the next one down is the as Windward Trail, which is actually that retaining wall. You will see that Strider comes in at 120 and WRS comes in at 175.
I'd make a motion to recommend to the board to approve a SURF allocation. Hang on just a second. This should come from roads, right? Not SURF?
Oh, that's correct.
Right.
It should be roads. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It kind of occurred to me when I said it out loud.
That should all be roads.
Okay, so this would be, the Finance Committee would recommend the Board of Directors approve a road reserve fund allocation not to exceed 48,569.58 to purchase.
To take out, yeah, that would come out as well.
Right, for capital roads repair.
Second.
I still thought we were in the discussion part because I'm sure Lori and I
We
are.
usually do a discussion after we do a
Oh,
motion.
after you, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
right, okay. Questions, comments?
Yeah,
Anybody?
Trent, make sure, so you have to put a motion on the floor to be able to discuss it. So it sounds a little backwards, but
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not obligated to vote for anything, obviously, so that's why we're discussing.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor to approve the first
But Trang
request.
has some
Right.
questions or,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I just want to make sure you understand that this is just for the first request on page 2 for $48,569.58. Tran, you have questions, comments?
Yes. So I don't have any history on this request, but when was it, like this year, or has this been kind of a request for how long?
Trang, our stormwater mitigation is something that has to be done, that we have to work on, and there is a plan that was put out, and Leslie can chime in, she might know a little bit more on the year. It was a roads plan that was put out, I'm gonna take a stab and say 2015.
Around that, yes.
And these are just ongoing projects, Trang, that are in that scope of work that needs to be done. And as we get down through the rest of these capital requests, you'll see culverts. This is our stormwater mitigation. These are things that we are obligated to do for our stormwater, and it's a plan that was designed by Wilson years ago, and then it was approved by the county, which is the driving factor on a lot of this. So we just had these things on the plans, when to get done, and this is just a year where they fell.
So this is not the same thing as what we just did for the Windward retaining wall construction?
Retaining wall is another project. That's all. We just did the drainage up to, from where you come out of the marina to where where the old rotunda used to be. If you're coming down Windward, you see all those sandbags at the bottom of the rotunda road where you used to come. But we know where the mailboxes are when you come in Windward.
I just go through down and I hit to the marina, so
Okay,
probably
when
not.
you come out of the marina and you turn to come back to Lake Whatcom Boulevard,
Okay,
start down that hill, that's the drainage that they're gonna be working on.
okay. Well, the reason why I wonder if this project has been like a request from previous year or not is that because one of the concerns I was watching on the board and a few other people is that should we approve this year capital expense on something that we could possibly postpone for when we find out, like maybe even next year or so? Or is this something that has to be done immediately?
This has
Yeah.
been an ongoing issue for quite a few years, Trang, and it's on the plan to be done.
It doesn't drain, it floods, and then it goes over into people's property. It goes into people's homes. I have to go by there, so when we get a lot of rain, it just overflows, and as an association, I think we need to make sure that areas that we know flood, that we improve the drainage so they work.
And also the retaining wall was discussed a couple years ago and basically approved the concept to redo it because of the condition that it's in and the problems that we potentially have with erosion going on to windward. So those were discussed a couple years ago, and it's taken that much time for the design work and finally getting it on the table here to get it done.
So this project that we are seeking for approval for, or suggestion to the board to approve, may not happen this year? Is that what you're saying? It's just
No,
an
this-
approval
this-
process and then
no.
it take up 2 or 3 years?
No, this was scheduled to be done actually last year. We were going to try to get it done last year, but we couldn't get it done because we had to go through the design work and that took longer. But it was basically the finance committee basically wanted approved to get this stuff on the table and get it completed for either last year or this year. And unfortunately, we couldn't do it last year. We're doing it this year.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know, what the history of this request is. It's not something new that's just coming up.
No,
Right.
it's definitely been ongoing.
And Trang, none of these that I am bringing to you guys tonight are anything new. These are ongoing issues that we have to address for the community. There's no new projects coming in tonight.
One of the things that we need to be sure of is that it will not put us in a bad financial position. And if you look at, and which we will look at later, the Roads Capital Fund. And it appears that we have over $2 million in that fund right now. The board is, their policy is to keep at least $500,000 in that fund, not to spend down any farther than that. And it looks like to me tonight that these requests will not at all put us into any financial bad positions. As I said, this is something that they've been planning on for several years, and we have been collecting the money, and it is in the financial report under the capital fund, the Capital Roads Fund.
The money's in roads. The money has to be spent on roads, correct? It can't be moved somewhere else?
Cannot.
Not necessarily.
No, I don't think you can move. It's a road reserve. I don't think I can move it out.
I
But
think that
we have, there's no, I mean, these are, it's my impression, these are the most pressing roads projects to do. And we have $2 million. We're going to keep at least 500,000. These
Right.
are the most important ones. And we've been talking about them for years. And we need,
Yeah.
in my opinion, we need to do them. And
you cannot transfer it into operations. I think,
I don't think I can go.
transfer it to another capital fund, but it can never go into operations.
I don't think I can because how it's recorded on your, how it's broken down in your dues, it is a road reserve. And I do not believe
Okay.
legally I
Right.
can move it from roads to capital. I
I'm not-
know the only way I can move it from reserves to operations is take a loan against it and do a scheduled payment against it, which you would never do.
Right.
so I didn't bring that up for an argument. I brought it up because even I wouldn't advocate doing that, but even if someone wanted to, I don't think that we can. So, and there's no reason to leave $2 million in cash earning 0% interest when we have roads projects to do. So that's my case for doing them.
More questions or comments?
Call the question.
Okay. Those in favor of recommending to the board that we allocate from the roads capital fund an amount not to exceed $48,569.58 to deal with the flooding problem on Windward Drive. All those in favor, raise your hands, please. It looks unanimous to me. Thank you. Okay,
Tony
Joe,
was like, he was
next one.
abstaining. Tony's hand was like over here, so he.
I'm here.
Now, the other part to
In
this,
front of your
is-
face.
the other part of this is the retaining, the railroad tie retaining wall where you come in on the left-hand side as you're heading towards the marina. That starts right around the cart path where it comes across the road from 10 to 11 and goes all the way up to where you go into the mailboxes. That is something that if anybody's driven by there, you see how that wall is deteriorated through the years. I don't know when it was done last. I don't have that information. Someone who's been here longer than I have might have it, but I
It's
can.
it's over 20 years, I know that.
Well,
Oh, 22, yeah, I know that.
railroad ties, they have gone, they have lasted longer than most railroad ties. I will give them credit for that. I have built railroad tie retaining walls and they're good for about 15 to 20 years. So that's lasted longer. So this is the request to go ahead and do the retaining wall. That is with the wall tax and contingency is 157, 150, 42. That will get the wall from where it comes at the cart path all the way down to where you go into the mailboxes. That whole wall will be redone.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll
Sure.
make it. Okay, go ahead. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to request $157,000, $157,150.42 to repair the retaining wall on Windward Drive. Discussion.
So I think there's just a slight addition error there. It should be 62 cents instead of 42 cents.
Yeah, I
Just,
just added it up, Penny, and I just found out I was 20 cents short.
yeah.
Writing it down.
So that I would, when we get to that point, after further discussion, I would say we would amend it. And the other question that I had though is, can you help me with, it looks like we've got 4 culverts, is that right?
We have,
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my next question.
okay,
I'm ahead of myself. This is the retaining wall.
we're doing retaining wall.
I'm done.
Okay.
Trang?
Oh, I know it sounds like it's redundant for you guys because you have heard about this all the time, but for me, it's still like playing history background checking. But so is this request the same as the one that is in 2020 for the Windward retaining wall construction? Is that just a continuation of that request, or is this a different part of the Windwall Drive?
No, this is the same request. This has been, there's nothing new that is coming in here, Trang. These are all.
No, I meant on this chart here.
Yes, you're correct. Yes, that's the,
Okay.
yes.
So the one that's listed on here for 2020, this is the same request amount.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
I'm just working directly off of that, yes.
Okay.
And the design work for that, was that done earlier, or is that part of this whole package in there?
There's bits and pieces. There was some done before, and then there was the last little bit finished up this year.
So,
Trang, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So just to continue part, the 107,113, is that part of this then?
107. What are you looking at?
This diagram where it says retaining wall construction and it says 2020. Item, it was requested in 2019.
No, well, nothing has been requested.
So it's not the same then?
Nothing has been requested.
Okay, then this part where it says windward retaining wall construction.
Yes,
and
that is it.
for
That is the
2020 for 107,113.
That is a construction, yes. That is that was what was put in years ago that's what they thought it would take to build that retaining wall.
So this is to repair it,
No, it's to replace it.
to replace it. So
Yeah.
are we, okay.
So,
It sounds like- it sounds like that
a lot of these things were put in years ago, and all of the reserve study stuff is estimates. It's not actual bids. It's estimates per each of those line items.
Right, but
So-
I don't know if this is the estimate or if this was the,
That was what was in the reserves, in the reserves.
The estimate, right. Until you go to physical bid, you do not have a solid number.
right,
That
so
was the
this is
estimate
the
that was put
physical
in years
bid.
ago. This is a physical bid to do the work.
Okay,
What you're seeing tonight is work. These guys are going to come in and do the work, and this is what it's going to cost Sudden Valley to get the work done.
okay. I'm just trying to connect the two, I think.
Yeah.
Joe, what material are they going to use?
They're going to use block. They're not going to use railroad tie.
Thank you.
I don't think you can use railroad ties in the watershed.
I don't think you get any more.
Right.
Yeah.
Further comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of allocating $157,150.62 to replace the retaining wall on Windward Drive, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we all are in favor. That's unanimous. Okay, Joe, what's the next one on the agenda here? It's the culverts.
It is the culverts. Okay. These are part of the stormwater mitigation plan that we are kind of obligated to do through the stormwater mitigation and phosphorus reduction for Lake Whatcom. These are culverts that were on their culvert 212 and 213. And you'll see another one that is 0.2 on this. When the original design was done, they didn't take into consideration where they were dumping the water out of 213. So they dumped it right, the design as it was, dumped it right straight into somebody's yard. So the 0.2 is to grab that and move it away from that. It's a little bit of extra work. So that's why this is a little bit more money, but I cannot put a culvert in and design it and dump it right into somebody's yard. We can't do that. So these are, again, this is a process, Trang, that is been dictated by the county, and it is to help mitigate stormwater issues. This is part of our plan that has been, like I said, put in place from 2015. So we are asking for total, make sure this is correct. $111,315.93.
You're going directly to the request on page 12 and not including the one on page 11.
Right to 12.
Okay,
And that was my question, because this, they put this out to bid for these, is culvert 200 in a very different location than the others? Is that?
No, they're in the same, they're pretty much right in the same area.
So 200, 212,
Mm-hmm.
213 and 213.2 is all roughly in the same
They're
area?
all roughly, did I get, oh, sorry, I missed 200. Yeah, 200. All the culverts are pretty much right in the same area. They're in that, they kind of all tie together, some form or where it runs in the run. So,
So where are these physically?
Sudden Valley Drive. Oh, It's over by Nate Euland's house. I don't know the other side street. That's all I know it's over in that area.
I don't
Yeah.
know who that is.
It's Sutton Valley. Hold on.
Okay.
I can look at a map. Probably over Sutton Valley in the Lost Fork area where that kind of meets out in that area.
Okay.
Like make a motion?
Culvert 200, we're asking for 119, or yeah, 119, $19,642.70. That's the first culvert. And then 212, 213, and 213.2, we're asking for $111,315.93.
So I'll make a motion to recommend to the board that they approve an allocation not to exceed $111,315.93 from the Capital Roads Repair Fund. And I will do a second motion to recommend to the board that the Finance Committee approves and recommends to the Board of Directors an allocation not to exceed $19,642.70 from the Capital Roads Repair Fund for Culvert C200.
I have second to these.
I second.
Okay. Let's actually do them one at a time since they are two separate motions. Let's look at C200 first, which does come first in our packet. And questions about that one?
I'm sorry, what was that? 200, you said?
200, which have the motion that's on page 11 for culvert C200.
I don't have that.
It's on page 11.
Page 11 in your packet.
Joe, all of this design work was done previously, correct?
Most of it was, yeah. There's always, you always have some site stuff when you get ready to finish everything up, but yes.
Right, so because there's no separate line for design and permits and all that kind of stuff. So all of the design and permitting is done and complete. So unless they run into something, that's.
Yeah, the minute we drop shovel in the ground, we might hit a boulder. We don't know that. We're, knock on wood, but we're hoping we don't, but that's why the contingency is in there.
Got it.
And, the other thing is, Trang and Lori, if the contingency doesn't get used for the project, it goes right back into roads. So, I haven't, knock on wood, haven't had to use any contingencies for some of the road projects that we've done. So, but it's just in there in case we need it.
Joe, if somebody wants to know where these culverts are, they're numbered. And can people find that on our website?
We don't have the map, but if they want to know where they are, I'd be more than glad to show them or tell them where they are exactly on the.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the report for these.
I don't think I've tried. I mean, the report is like trying to read our reserve study. It's very, very small, and if you're looking at the map, it's very hard to read.
Okay, Trang, you had some questions?
Yes, I think I finally connected. Okay, so and walk me through this because I'm still kind of like seeing it first eye. So the reserve shows, I see the reserve shows for the COVID 200 replace and remove, and it was estimated, or what the reserve shows as 22,150, which is great because it hits the request pretty much the amount that's being requested now. And then, but the code, the second part, the 212 and 213, I know we're not, should we wait for that?
Okay, let's do the first one.
You just muted yourself.
My clock is chiming. Yeah, let's just discuss the first one and then we'll go to the second.
Perfectly fine then. So my second one, my question is really for the second one. Lori.
Other comments? Lori? Lori, it sounds like you're still muted. Nothing yet? I can see your lips moving. Yes, are you
Why is
plugged
she
in?
getting that figured out? Did we only get one bid on this one?
No, there was two.
Okay, I don't see that, or I'm not finding it.
It would have been page 18,
Page 18.
Strider and WRS.
Page 18, Colin, do you see it?
Getting there.
Lori, do you have the sound turned on your computer?
Sorry, Lori, maybe try reconnecting. It does show that your mic is connected here. So either try reconnecting or it may be something with your PC.
Colin, did you find it on page 18?
Yeah, I see it here.
Okay.
Okay, let's just kind of wait for a minute for Lori to get back in again.
Has Strider done a lot of work for us in this area?
They've done work for us out here before in the past, yes.
Who's done most of our culvert work?
Wilson.
It's bounced around. WRS has done some of it. Tiger's done some of it. Strider's
Wilson's done a lot of it.
design. WRS has done most of our work, but all the other companies have done work for us.
Okay.
Lori, speak to me.
Ram, just so you know, Ram did the retaining wall on the 18th hole.
Well, just because I was wondering because Strider was so much better priced on all this than WRS, and
Yeah.
so. But if we've used them before, great.
Yep.
Okay, Lori, can you hear us now?
Looks like it's trying to connect.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Okay, so my question was just, are we using different companies for all of these projects, or is it one specific company that we've used with all the bids that we got?
Well, we sent it out to the companies and we only got 2 bids back. As I said earlier, we sent them to Strider, Western, which is WRS, Ram, Stremler Gravel, Dirtworks, and Tiger Construction. The only 2 to return and place bids were Strider and Western, or WRS. So we bid it all out as a whole package, or they could pick and choose what they wanted to do. And both companies bid the whole package across the board on all the projects.
And then,
It's easier for them. They looked at it, and most of the time when you do stuff like this, they have a mobilization fee. So if they're out here, they don't have to re-immobilize. So that's why I like to try to bid, like for instance, with the drainage on Windward, they're in one area, so they got all their equipment there. Same way with the culverts. They don't want to keep coming and going on, back and forth. So
that makes sense. But are we going with one company for all of these?
yes, we are recommending going with Strider since they are the cheapest.
Okay, thank you.
Lori, while you were reconnecting, there were also different companies who have done different work around Sudden Valley, and we don't use the same one all the time. There have been, well, you mentioned what, 3 or 4 separate different companies who've done different areas, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions on Culvert C200? Okay, all those in favor of recommending to the board that we allocate an amount not to exceed $19,642.70 to replace Culvert C200 from the Capital Reserves Fund. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it looks like it's unanimous again. All right, now let's go on to the second motion, which was for Culvert C212, C213, and C213.2. Comments and questions? Trang, you had some left over. Mute.
Waiting for the motion part. Yes. So unlike the COVID 200, I noticed on the reserve that it was estimated for 67,494, but it's now well, it's more.
Yeah,
So is there a reason why?
yeah. If you heard earlier what I said, when they did the original design, they dumped the stormwater in someone's yard.
Okay.
So
so
they
they
have
have
to
to
move
move. That's why I was want to know what the
Yeah,
difference was.
that's what if you look at it, it's 213.2. There's an extra culvert that I have to install, an extra work that has to go with that because the original design did not adequately design the way it should be done because there's no other way to move it. So they just dead ended it and let it dump into somebody's yard. Which,
Yeah, that makes sense because the 213.2 was not on the original.
yeah,
So
right.
just
So
with the difference.
to do to do this, we have to do it correctly. We cannot just go ahead and throw 213 in and dead end it and let it go into somebody's yard because then we will be in litigation and it'll cost us far more than, and then we'd have to fix it. So this is why it had to be redesigned and rescoped.
Okay.
And then I'm going to make you get 3 bids for the cost of litigation, and that's more work.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Colin.
Yes.
I have just a question about these and the status. For a while, Joe, this I think happened before you came. I don't know whether any after you arrived or not. We were relining culverts as opposed to digging them up and redoing. Can you give me a sense of where we are in that now and whether that makes sense or not, or why we would or wouldn't do it?
We have, you'll see going forward, Penny, we do have some culverts that are going to be slip lined.
Okay.
I've slip lined stuff before. It's a process that you can do, but these are small culverts, Penny. I mean, we're replacing 12s or 18s to 24s, and what we're replacing is there's a term that's called CMPs, corrugated metal pipe. It's the old metal pipe that we grew up with, and now they're running plastic, straight plastics. So the slip lines generally, the ones that I've always had work with were in 48s or 60-inch pipe instead of, because they're big major piping, so it's easier to slip line those than it is to tear them out and rebuild a road because you'd have to do a lot of head wall work, upper side and lower side, so that you don't get the washouts. So you would just slip line it, put it in, concrete the front, and concrete the back end, and away you go.
Thank you.
Do we have any problems with these being fish passages or having to get?
We've already gone through that.
Leslie, come on.
Yeah, as a fisherman, I can say I would never see fish in any of these waters. But yes, we had to go through it.
Okay. Questions? Any more?
There are fish in Austin Creek. We've seen lots, but
Yeah, well, this isn't Austin Creek.
I know. Yeah, 12-inch culverts are, pretty small.
Small fish. All right, so all those in favor of recommending to the board that they approve an expenditure of not to exceed $111,315.93 to replace culverts C212, C213, and C213.2. All those in favor? Okay, we have a unanimous approval again. Okay, Joe, the last one on page 20.
Last one on page 20. What this is there's a line item in the reserve study that we keep in there. I don't know when it started, but it's been in there. This is for on-call engineering. Sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't use it. But what it is used for is if there's a unforeseen emergency that comes up, I can call in anybody to take a quick look at it and give us an idea and start the work going that way. And it's just, it's money to be used only if there's an emergency. And like I said, we don't use a lot of it. But again, if there was a major issue, we had a washout or there was a major issue with some landslide, we could bring in a professional and help us get some engineering done and go from there. So that's all this is used for.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve a request for $33,942 to be provided by Roads Capital to fund our 2020 on-call engineering. Comments and questions?
What is the normal amount that you have in there? Is there a set value?
It goes up every year a little bit, about 3% due to the cost of things going up.
I can tell you how much it was last year.
Huh?
But I can tell you how much it was last year.
Okay.
So in 2019, it was 23,000. I mean, just to give you an idea of like how quickly we go through it. So we were still using the 23,000 from 2019 until like this is coming before you. So we don't really go through it too quickly.
Questions? Frank?
So Joe, you say that it's on the reserve, but I can't seem to locate that. Is that?
Hey, Tran.
Yeah.
So it's going to be right at almost up at the very top on the road spending plan.
Mm-hmm.
First line down, under 2020. On-call engineering.
All right, I will take your word. I just.
Line item 13.
Okay, that's it better. My line item 13 says facility, so
No, not under roads.
I'm under the wrong one then. Let's
Yep.
see.
How many pieces of paper?
Well, Joe, so you have 23,000 there now and we're adding 33?
Well, no, I don't know. You had 30,000 is what it started at. So I don't know. It was 23 last year.
23,000 was requested last year in January, and
Okay.
in January 2019.
I mean, I could go. I mean, I could probably get away with 20.
I found it.
And we don't use a lot of it. Like I said, if there's issues that come up as we start going through stuff and you find stuff and you start looking at doing engineer work, and that's what it's used for. It's just, it's a fund that I don't know when it was started. Leslie might have a better idea. So.
Would it be, you're saying that it's okay if we reduce this to 20,000?
Yeah, I can take it down to 20.
Comments, questions?
If that's all we need, just do 20.
Okay.
And I have an amendment to the motion.
So amendment, we'll amend the amount to the motion to 20,000 for on-call engineering from Capital Roads Fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, let's vote now. All those in favor of this amendment to reduce the amount to $20,000, please say aye, raise your hand. Okay, that's the amount has been reduced to $20,000. Now, is there any further discussion on this on-call roads engineering motion?
I had a question. Joe, can you give us an idea of when something like this would happen? Like an example?
Yeah, I'll give you, for instance, when we had the landslide up on Southern Court.
Okay.
That's the stuff that it would be used for. We don't have any money set aside for any work like that. So when something of that magnitude happens, then we have to look at it. Let's say, or on another case, we might have a major washout on one of the bridges or something like that, where we don't have the funds set aside, but we need to get engineering done for it. That's what it would be used for.
Okay, thank you.
More comments? Questions? All those in favor of recommending to the board that we allocate an amount not to exceed $20,000 to fund engineering from the roads fund. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, we have a unanimous vote again. All right, moving on now to, there is no new business on the floor, so, continuing business first. The forecast and the PPP update discussion. Joe, are you managing that?
I'll let Joel do that one.
Okay,
Okay, so in terms of the forecast, so as of the end of May for forecasting out the end of the year, of course, at this point, this is just so early to do in terms of, all we can really do is use like a projection. But so I'm projecting at this time $289,500 loss at year end. But keep in mind about 200,000 of that was forgiveness of the April dues, and then 90,000 of that is just it's basically how it's calculated is I'm just taking net income at May, operating net income at the end of May, and then I'm adding in or subtracting away budgeted revenues through the end of the year for the rest of the year, and then taking out certain things like obviously April dues, which we gave up, and like a special event costs like 15,000 that we won't incur, so that'll be taken out of it, and that's so it's a very conservative number at this point. And obviously this number will change from month to month as dues or as collection rates go up, as spending goes down. So our spending is down this year as well, especially versus last year. So that will have an effect from month to month as well.
Hey, Joel, are you looking at, I'm sorry, 22 or 21? Or does it, Raymond?
Are you asking about a page number?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't in the, this is just a discussion topic. So you won't see a page in there for that. Now, also in terms of, since this is on the same bullet point for topic, so for the PPP Paycheck Protection Program, status of that thing. So basically how it works in a really quick high level nutshell is we have 2 periods that we could choose for a covered period for a forgiveness period. We got the funds in about, around, we'll say May 15th, our covered period. And, if we choose an 8-week covered period, that's so that we have 2 choices, an 8-week or the new legislation, a 24-week covered period. So our covered period would end, matter of fact, right around today, actually, is if we chose the 8-week versus the 24-week. Now, basically the big difference between choosing one of these two is if you choose the 8-week covered period, your chances of possibly having it all forgiven could go down a little depending on the organization you are, because you have to look at average FTEs compared to an FTE period and possibly get a little penalty with that. I don't really believe that would apply to us, but if we chose the 8-week period, then that raises the probability that the forgiveness element can get into the 2020 financial statements. Now, if we choose the 24-week covered period, that obviously maximizes the amount of expenses that you could have forgiven, like utility expenses, things like that, on top of payroll. But then obviously, that really raises the odds that the forgiveness portion of it falls into the 2021 income statement instead of the 2020. But that's really basically the 2 choices and what we have at this point with us.
comments, questions?
So who's making that decision and when are you making that decision?
The big thing so this is exactly what it'll come down to is when our covered period ends, which is probably around today, then we could start to look at like FTE counts. That's really what it's going to hinge on compared to, there's like a couple different timeframes that you compare it to. But, and then there's a couple different options of how you can calculate the FTE portion of it. But that's really the big thing, is looking at the FTEs, and then if it applies to the 8-week period, then we just automatically go with the 8-week period. If it doesn't, then you could go with the 24-week period. There are a couple different kind of scenarios of how it could be calculated, but that's really what it comes down to.
Based on how I understand it, if we will receive 100% forgiveness in the 8-week period, then yeah, we go with that. Otherwise, we go to the 24-week period, and we will absolutely get 100%
Yeah.
forgiven under that scenario. So whether or not it pushes it into 2021 is irrelevant. We have to do the decision that's going to be the best for the association. So
Right.
it's possible that we have a deficit in 2020, but then we've got a $300,000 surplus working into 2021.
Yeah, and exactly what Colin said, that really puts it in a good nutshell of between the two scenarios.
Anything else?
It's possible that we'll get guidance from our CPAs on how to record it. I mean, if you're really looking at timing and matching your revenue and expenses, it wouldn't make sense from a GAAP standpoint to put it all into 2021 when it was more, materially the effects of it were all in 2020. So, we'll work with our CPAs, I'm sure, to, if we need to get guidance on how to post it. So,
Yeah.
We're not going to be the only organization that's going to be faced with that. So I can imagine that there's got to be some kind of,
yeah.
But at least it's a good problem to be faced with. Anyways.
exactly.
And what's our updated collection rate through May? It's still 92, 93?
Well, actually, I'll get into that during the financial statement part of
Sorry, I'm just too excited. I want to know.
Hang on there.
All right.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the dues projection worksheet that I believe is the sheet that we received this afternoon, which is the projections for, is this what we sent out this afternoon? Is that
Yeah,
what we're using? Okay,
I'll pull that up here.
okay.
Are you going to share it?
Yeah, maybe I will do that
Yay.
since I.
We've learned how to do that.
I know now that we've been sharing things thanks to Colin, then you don't have to look at two different screens.
Okay. Why don't you explain what's changed on this and the significance of it, please?
Can you see this?
I can see a lot of stuff.
Like, can you see this this dues summary thing?
No, I see a
You
spreadsheet.
got a lot of stuff, Joel. You got a lot
I'm
of
gonna have
stuff.
to memorize a few things.
Yeah. You need
Oh.
to close some stuff.
How's that?
Now I
Close-
see you're playing. Maybe you have to open it up. I saw it when you had it open and then it went somewhere.
Let me see here.
Yeah, there should be an option to switch over to the other monitor, I believe. I think you're on the on the wrong monitor right now.
Maybe I'll just put it back over here. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
There you go.
That's good.
Okay, so what I've done with this dues projection summary thing, like
Sorry, before you get rolling, can you make it a little bigger? Just click that plus arrow a couple times.
Yeah.
Collins needs glasses.
How's that?
Put your glasses on, Colin.
So much easier.
That's good.
There. Okay. So now you guys talked before about wanting this to be smoothed out more in the presentation of it, and so Karen and I talked about it, and right here is a good kind of summary of what's going on, that explains what was done with this, but I'll just explain what we did. So basically, okay, so 2024 and beyond, so you'll see the capital assessment total of 9207 right here. So in a sense, I locked that in place for 2025 and all the way through 2029. So what that did is whatever like for example, when you saw something like this, when it was down, then obviously, I put the amounts back, and then that contributed to building the reserves for the next year. And then obviously then those costs get taken away from that. And so any month where you saw it really drop, then it was locked in place. So then in those years, not only was it paying for the stuff in the year, but it was building onto the end of year reserves, which led into the next year. So the bottom line, and I did that for both surf and roads. And so what you're really seeing here is these amounts right here, how they've really smoothed out by doing that. So it just, so what's the only thing increasing this from year to year would be this stuff, you know, this operation stuff and this special assessment stuff in here. Like if you wanted to increase that, that was left the same. The only thing I changed was the capital portion of it. So, and then at the end of 2029, so based on this scenario, technically if the dues were these amounts during these years, and then by doing that, obviously, then there is more money in surf and roads, which then dropped these two assessment amounts down for 2029 as well. But if you stuck to this scenario right here, then at the end of 2029, you would have in surf and you would have in roads the amount of the board approved carryover balances. So 600,000 left over in surf, 500,000 left over in roads. If you did this special assessment and had the dues at these amounts during those years. And that's essentially basically what that does.
We still have it pretty much front loaded though.
Are you're talking about from?
I'm talking about percent changes. Oh no, that's dollar changes. No, the percent, never mind. I was reading it wrong. Yeah, okay. So what we're looking at, the percent changes are down in the 6% range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
during
you for doing that.
especially during these
That's,
early years, it keeps it within, you know, the bylaw that
Exactly. Yeah.
keeps it under the 7%, obviously, in those periods.
it's the same information as before as far as the funding, but it's just
Yes,
it's not scary and it's
that's
smoothed
right.
out.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. So in this scenario, I did not tinker with anything on the capital spending plans at all. I didn't move anything from one year to another to smooth this out. All I did was just alter these amounts in here and these amounts in here just to level out these payments, you know, or these dues amounts throughout the years. Which, so obviously when I alter one year, then that changes the ending reserves. It flows into the next year, which is what ultimately is changing all these numbers.
So Joel, the original one that you did for us, that we saw at the last meeting, was the reserve fund available at the end of 2029 the same?
Well, at the end of 2029, what you would have had was basically, you were, because technically how this is working here for every single one of these years is how you saw it in the last scenario. It didn't really care about the ending reserve fund as much because you were coming into them fairly flat negative anyways into 2023 or so. So it was basically just the amount of money that you needed in those years just to flat out pay for that stuff is what it was doing.
Okay, but just, it was baseline funding.
That's right, yeah.
So, but I'm just trying to figure out at the end of 2029 then, in the previous one and this one, the balances are staying the same, the $500,000 and $600,000 for the surf and the roads. Is that right?
The balances at the end of 2029, I'd have to go back and take a look at it, but they probably weren't, they probably weren't the exact same as this, since the amounts flowing from year to year, versus the other one was just simply looking at how the calculations were done with this before, and in the other year is just, what does it take to pay for that year? So kind of, to answer your question, I'd have to look at it just to see what that actually was.
I'm confused. I'm just trying to understand, is this baseline funding but smoothed out so that everything that's on the reserve list between 2021 and 2029 is paid for? Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Like what in the years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, it's definitely going to be cutting into the carryover balance, but the reserve balance itself would not go negative. So it's still baseline funding with this. It's just during the years of like 2024, especially through 2028, you're picking up like definite positive balances that are over and beyond those carryover balances.
Okay.
But by the time you get to 2029, and if you stuck to this, what would you have? You'd have just your carryover balances left over in those reserves at the end of 2029.
Okay. Thank you.
Joe, so basically next year when we do this, these numbers will be different.
Yeah,
Because if you update the reserve study, those numbers will change.
yeah, absolutely.
And these numbers will change.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm looking down at the bottom number on the right-hand side under additional special assessments. And that's a scary number, but it's not the dues. It doesn't mean we're going to raise dues by that amount. It means that if we want to fund these big capital expenses, we will have to do a special assessment to do it. And that will go to a vote of membership, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Or like if you took out a loan for this stuff, then you wouldn't have, obviously that special assessment. You just have the loan payment working itself into the spending plan.
Oh.
Not that I'm saying you're going to do that, but it's just mathematically what.
So the dues, based on this projection, the dues through 2029 will not exceed the 7% limit. And in fact, and 25 through 29, you're looking at 1%.
And this, by the way, this was emailed to you guys on the Finance Committee, but I also had Oryx post this on the Finance Committee webpage. So it'll be on there as an addendum too. So anyone can
Good.
see.
We have our own webpage, Finance Committee webpage.
Well, under the Sun Valley, on the Sun Valley page, and then when you click on committees and go to Finance Committee, then you can see all the agendas
wow.
and stuff. This will be on there.
Fancy. Looks good. Thank you. Love
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Anybody else have comments on this?
This is very helpful because otherwise the numbers were not. Thanks, Colin, for pushing for this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same information. The other information's confusing and scary, and it's the same information. It's just not scary and more accurate.
Yeah. And it doesn't look so all over the place, like with one year really falling and then going back up again.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no further questions, shall we move forward? Can you remove that? There we go. Let's get back to so we can see everybody. White.
Is it back to full screen mode?
No.
Not yet.
Do you know how I do this?
At the top, you click Stop Sharing.
I can get it for you, Joel.
Oh, okay. Okay,
There
good.
we go.
Thanks.
Okay. And no new business. So Joel, why don't you lead us through the May 2020 financial statements?
Okay. Should I do screen sharing?
No, I have my copy.
Okay.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so I'll start out with page 21, the balance sheet. The main difference on the balance sheet is this, because we got the PPP loans, those funds in May, middle of May. So you'll see now there's the PPP loan liability showing up in the balance sheet. That in the operations section, 357,700, and you'll see a couple of asterisk marks there, which there's an explanatory footnote down below explaining what this thing is, about how these are PPP forgivable loan funds. And so basically when this is forgiven, then this amount will show up on the income statement as like debt forgiveness income is how it will show up. So it'll be removed from the balance sheet and the gain would go to the income statement.
That's like the dream of every organization. You just turn the liability into income.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a journal entry that doesn't happen.
Yeah. But that's the big, most notable difference with the balance sheet. Now we turn the page to page 22 for the income statement here. So I'll talk about the collection rate. So you'll see the, so I'm looking at the second to the right column, top number, 93.7% collection rate for May 2020. Month, just for the month, it was 89.9%. So it dropped obviously in May. Last year in May of 2019, it was 96.5%, year to date, 99.1% for the month for May. Now, so the June numbers are calculated. So the final June collection rate numbers is, so the good thing with June is for the month to date of June, that number went up to 94.6% for a collection rate in June. So that's encouraging to see that, which then increased the June year to date number to 93.9%. So we're definitely moving, now obviously this is just 1 month from May, but we're moving in a positive direction, collection rate at this point. Now the net income down below, operating net income, so third column from the right, negative 45,946. Last year at this time, we had a positive net operating net income of 234,650. Obviously, you know, we have about close to 200,000 of this hit was the forgiving the dues in April. But the good thing with this is, especially if you look at it month to date, the expenses or the total expenses, so we're better than budget by $12,456 for the operating expenses versus last year at this time we were worse than budget by approximately 38,000. Year to date, we were better on expenses by 20,097. Last year at this time, we were worse than budget on expenses by approximately 27,395. Of course, I've been talking lately about the expense ratio. Last year, we were 85%. This year, it's no surprise, 103.4%. Last month, we were 105.3%. So that's definitely now starting to move. That's no longer getting worse at this point. It's moving in a more positive direction as the further we get away from April. If you turn the page to page 23, just showing the capital reserve funds, cash balances. So basically surf roads, UDR, these numbers have all ticked up slightly from last month, 4/30/20, and those numbers were also up from 4/30/2019. So the reserve balances are looking good. And this sheet also takes into account, like I pointed out in the past month and probably the month before that, that this takes into account that hit from forgiving the April dues. So that number is also accounted for on this page. We turn the page to page 24. So now we're looking at, this is just current month is what we're looking at. We'll look at, I'll talk about golf since I always talk about golf, but actual revenue. So the good thing for golf is actual revenue in May, $102,656 for the month for golf for that month. Last year, as of May 2019, it was $81,117. So it's an increase of $21,500 month, month over month on a yearly basis. This year, for the current month for golf, the expenses, total expenses, which is, so it's a combination of the actual salary and benefits and actual other expenses. So the total of that is $84,178 for May. Last year at this time for the month, it was $104,400. So you'll see a decrease also of their expenditures of $20,222. Their net income for golf month to date was $18,478. Last year, May 2019 month to date, they had a net loss of $23,283. So that's an improvement of close to 42,000, just right between those two numbers. Now, in terms of, no real huge differences in terms of for better, worse than net income for the departments. Common cost, $16,900. All that is just property tax payments that was hitting there in May, personal property tax payment. Maintenance, so nothing huge going on with that. We turn the page to page 25, so now we can look at the stuff year to date. You'll see if we go back to golf, $347,596 revenue year to date. Last year at this time, year to date, $381,692, which isn't too bad given the fact that golf was flat out shut down during the pandemic. That's a decrease of $34,096 year to date between the 2 years. Now for expenditures, year to date golf at $300,847. Last year they had expenditures year to date of $338,157. That's a decrease in expenditures of $37,310, which actually makes up for that decrease in year to date revenues of $34,096. The net income for golf year to date, $46,749, the end of May 2020. Then May 2019, it was $43,535. So golf is still up $3,214 for net income year to date, even given the fact that they were shut down here recently. In terms of maintenance, maintenance is the only real thing hanging out there with the worsened budget, but that's all basically weather related, which I've talked about in the past. Now those cover the big numbers, for the most important numbers for the association. If anyone has any questions on those. Try.
So for the this is for the May to May monthly ones.
Uh-huh.
The actual salary for the administration, is that because of is that part because we moved?
Oh, you're looking at common costs. Common costs.
Actual salary benefit and that little middle column on administrative.
You're talking about the one that has nothing in it?
No, I'm the one above it. It says 40,327.
Uh-huh.
And then the it was worse because it's worse by 4,705 than last year. I'm assuming.
Well, no, actually, this was better technically than last year by
better. Okay, so
4,705.
So it's better than last year. And then the maintenance one's the same thing. So it's worse.
Maintenance is worth $14,093. And now a few things. May is a little different in terms of a month because we have 3 payrolls falling into May. So this can literally come down to just how that was set up in the budget when they set up the budget last year at this time. Mm-hmm. So if they just flat out said, their budget divided by 12 and each month it gets 1/12, then this can cause something to look like this. Or it could also be an element of Bruce's work crew spending a little more time in maintenance versus roads during that month as well, which will shift those costs around sometimes with maintenance.
Okay. Well, back to the one you said about common costs. What is that then? At the end of the other expense is 16,000 worse. Do you see that?
Yeah. This one is the big thing doing this would be personal property taxes hitting in May, but that's not one of those costs to where it's like 1/12, like every month. That just shows up one time, like during the year. So this one did not have a budget showing up in May because it fell in probably one of the other months. So it causes kind of a out of balance just budget wise from month to month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions on the finance? Lori? Unmute.
Hi. So I see on here Ken's Cozy Kitchen. Are we still paying them?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. That's all.
Anything else?
So is that for the May, the kitchen, is that from April then?
What is, we got a bill, it's actually for 4 months for January, February, March, April, and there was an extra month that did not come through until.
It was December.
December, so that's why it looks like 5 months.
Yeah. That was just a timing issue on when we finally got his December invoice.
Okay, anything else? If not, let's move on to member comments.
So we do have a few attendees here tonight, and I will bring over Linda. I suppose just like regular properties owners comments, give your name and address.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, can we look at that dues collection rate thing chart that Joel gave you? And I want you all, because I think there's a mistake. I want you all to,
On page 22, right?
I don't know, because I printed the extra page off the internet and it doesn't
Okay.
have a page number.
Okay,
That was the one that I emailed to you.
go ahead.
Okay, so I want you all to go to look at the Rex special assessment. You've got 1111, 1144. You have duplicated that again in 2022, and it should be 1178 goes in 2022, and in 2023 it goes to 1213.
Oh, you're talking about the projections. Okay.
Yes, I'm just saying, if we're gonna look at this sheet, I've looked at it so much and I'm going, there's something wrong here. And then I figured out what it was.
Okay, that was the one that was sent out to the finance committee this afternoon.
And I think all the prior ones, Leslie, we've even gotten as the board, they've all got the same mistake. And it's just, all Joel has to do is go in and correct it. That's all. It'll change the numbers at the bottom. It's not much.
Yeah.
But it's just, if we're going to present this, then this is what's going to go initially in the agenda packet and everything else for the AGM. It should be right.
Yeah.
That's
You're
all.
looking at starting in 2021 where it says 1144.
Yes.
And
Then in
that's for the same-
2022, he duplicated it, but the 1178 should go in there.
Yeah.
And then 2023 goes to, I believe, 1213, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, Joel, got that?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah, she's right.
That's all I got, folks. It's been fun.
I put that in there just to see if Linda would catch it.
Be very careful.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Linda.
All
Have
right.
a good evening. Anyone else in our attendees like to address the committee?
Okay, seeing nobody else stepping forward. Shall we adjourn this meeting at 7:49?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.